the Friendlyjordies YouTube channel, getting into a bit of hot water apparently in the past week or so, or whether it was the week before, I can't recall. But anyway, the producer of the channel got arrested on stalking charges against the New South Wales Deputy Premier. And you go in there and you kind of try and unpack some of this stuff, and it seemed, I believe, in quotation marks, is very curious, because when you have a look at it all, it seems very murky and messy, etc. Obviously, the Friendlyjordies channel has kind of a political bent in that they go after what they perceive to be, hypocrisy and corruption, in political levels, and I guess in other avenues as well. Having checked out a couple of their other clips, I can see they don't just limit themselves to certain politicians or whatever. But obviously, this came to a head when they sprung this on they chased down the Deputy Premier and sort of surprised him at an event, and he turned around and invoked I can't recall exactly what it was, some sort of anti-terrorist type.
It's thing. The fixated persons unit.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is meant to obviously look at people who may be exposed to terrorist thinking.
Yeah, exactly. So, and again, that, like, you go, wow, he really went to the extent of doing that against this guy. I thought, well, in the Media Watch article that when they were playing it back, I thought that was interesting that they threw in that clip of John Howard hugging that protester as a way to diffuse a situation. I don't know. I just it just seemed to me that something wasn't quite right with that whole interaction from start to finish across all of it.
This is one very sorry story. I mean, from the Media Watch thing, look, the Chaser definitely are a cut above our Friendlyjordy, and I don't know that you could call what he's doing journalism. I mean, it's a cross between Pumped and basically a personal diatribe against anyone that he perceives doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes his targets are right. Maybe sometimes his targets are wrong. And as for his target this time, oh my God, really, his media advisor would appear on what we saw to be second rate. And, as a person who's a public figure, you'd think the Deputy Premier would have a little bit more nous with how to deal with people like this.
What about the whole conversation, I guess, more broadly about, I'm going to hesitate using the word journalism here because that's not what it is, but this idea of conflicting or reactive sort of media plays that seem to happen now, where, the YouTube is a platform where, we're doing it right now. We're talking about stuff, we're putting it on the internet, people can see what we're thinking about. This is a bit more, these guys are a bit more in your face with what they're putting out there, and it's a reaction to what they perceive as bad things going on, etc. And I find the contrast interesting compared to sort of like tabloid news and sort of hardcore news, like what they call sort of opinion pieces that are done, say like on Sky News or something like that, where you can see a sort of corollary between the two, although they're completely different platforms, but they're kind of doing similar things in a way.
Oh, I'd agree. I'd say that, he watches certain segments of, very poor journalism on what we would call traditional broadcasters, or maybe cable TV as well, if you include that. And he probably does it better. He's smart, he's quick, and he goes his targets and he sets them up. And if they're not smart enough, which, you could argue that a lot of them aren't, they've got no way of dealing with someone like that. I mean, I would make the point, like, he doesn't really go into any depth. This is Geordie. I mean, he just picks a point and he just goes at it and then just turns it into sort of character assassination, which isn't really very good. But I think this is just plays to, as we always say, the polarization that occurs today on the internet. So if you perceive an injustice, it doesn't matter anymore whether it's real or not. If you scream loud enough and enough people scream on your side, you're scoring points. And it's just turned everything into some sort of just crazy right, wrong, black, white competition, when obviously and very often there's no basis really for a lot of this anyway.
Yeah, and it reminded me in a lot of ways, lamenting the loss of moderate, considered conversation. Nothing is ever black and white like you just described there. It's humans are various shades of grey in their interactions and how they think about things, and you can have opposing points of view on things and still have a moderate pleasant discussion where you still get along at the end. But we seem to have gone way past that point in so many ways, where now, like you said, you have to pick a side, and I just don't know what that does to the dialogue culturally when that's your only option, and it kind of pushes you to and again, we've been talking about this the last couple of weeks. So instead of just putting something online, you have to put something online with a clickbait title, and if you could take it to the nth degree like these guys have, you really hammer it home in the actual video itself, and there's no doubt that if you're watching something that he's put out there, it's a bit hard not to look at it, because it's so it just jumps out at you with its intensity.
Well, look, this is really sad, because the internet was meant to democratise free speech, and we're seeing the complete opposite now. And just to use Geordie as an example here, and he's not the only one, and it's not to say that even in traditional media they don't do this sort of thing now, but it's about picking winners and editing to pick a winner.
Yeah.
And he shows the winning points that he smashes, and geez, he's proud of it, and he lifts these as trophies up to his adoring crowd, and just like the Colosseum, they all cheer, and
Yeah.
But the truth is that all of these interactions really are quite ugly, and people should remember that whenever you pick a side, whatever the evidence might be presented to you visually, especially in a medium such as the internet, as you've just said, Ben, very often there's much more of the story behind, and you don't ever get to see it.
Absolutely. Well, I think we'll park this as one of our another example in this ongoing discussion that we're having about this sort of stuff, these conversations and interactions on the internet, and whether or not, I guess, more broadly, can the moderate discussion ever find a place again without dramatic, intervention at this point?
Yes, well, I think unless governments are really willing to take on the platforms as publishers, I think this is just the way it's going to be.